Welcome to Swarajya Direct Line. In the context of COVID 19, a lot of multinational giants are exiting China, and our country is trying to woo these big players into India. Both the central and state governments are offering a slew of incentives to these companies, like the Yogi government in Uttar Pradesh is even offering tailor made benefits for these companies if they shift their manufacturing. So, to discuss this today, I have with me my colleague and senior editor Tushar Gupta. Hi, Tushar.
Hey Harsha.
Can you elaborate on this attempt to woo companies to India?
Yes, well, the COVID 19 outbreak, for one, has exposed companies to the vulnerability of having their supply chain concentrated in one place. Of course, in the name of globalization, for the last 20 years, a lot of companies, especially the multinationals of the West, had moved their operations to the East. For instance, Apple assembles most of its iPhones in China. To give you an example. So, what has happened after this COVID 19 outbreak? Companies have realized that it's not safe to put all their eggs in the same basket. Given the outbreak happened in China and the limited amount of information that's coming out of the country, companies are now motivated. They already had a reason during the trade war to move out of China, but now that motivation has been aggravated by the COVID 19 outbreak. The second thing is it's not just India or it's not just the companies in the West. Even Japan has set up a $2 billion fund to help companies move their supply chains out of China. So what happens in a situation like this, that companies look for options to move their supply chains, and mind you, moving supply chains is a very complicated procedure. So companies don't want to experiment a lot. They want to settle at a place where they're assured of a long-term future. So that's how it is.
But we sure have a lot of building up to do. We have a lot of challenges in India, right? And these must be corrected. So, what are the main challenges that we will now face if we have to host these companies?
See, of course, if we are to become the next manufacturing hub after China, the one thing we need to understand is companies are not the first thing we need to understand. Companies are not packing up from China and moving to India. We need to understand they're diversifying. The key word here is diversifying. Earlier, if they had 10 eggs in China, now they want to have 5 there and 5 here. So we cannot pretend to be too sure of ourselves to think that, oh, everyone is moving out of China and they would have no option but India. So in that regard, we need to have some policy correction measures. To begin with, our land acquisition program is a problem. Companies always suffer when it comes to land acquisition because there's a lot of judicial activism, there's a lot of ground level NGOs, there's a lack of coordination between the central and the state governments. Because often what happens when it comes to land acquisition, it becomes a political issue. And if you have a different government, let's say in the center and the state, it becomes a problem. So projects get halted because of this one simple issue. To give you an example, this is what happened when the government change happened in Maharashtra. After Fadnavis government couldn't get the power in Maharashtra, the Uddhav Thackeray government ordered an immediate revision of the bullet train project. So these kind of steps, they actually kill investor sentiment. So for companies looking to move their supply chains to India, they would be looking at addressing these problems. The second thing is bureaucracy. We need more labor reforms. So things like these, they need to be corrected. Judicial activism, all these things need to be corrected before we invite companies to India.
So, talking about investors, what are the incentives for these global players to set up shop in India?
See, this is where learning from China becomes essential. People think that Western companies set up their supply chains in China only because of the low wages. That's incorrect. China offered both lower wages and a big market, a market of more than 1.4 billion people. That's a huge market. So the likes of Apple had an incentive to set up shop in China. The likes of Samsung had incentive to set up shop in China. Luckily, the same thing is applicable to us as well. While companies will look at Vietnam, at Bangladesh as alternate manufacturing destinations, but what these two countries do not offer is the same purchasing power parity. They do not offer the same demand, the demand India can. So India is again a market of 1.3 billion people. Every year we are pushing out more people out of the rural sector to the urban areas, more purchasing, more demand driven economy we are becoming. So companies have an incentive plus the low wages. So if we can mix these factors with policy correction, it could become ideal for us in the long run.
So, you mean to say we have it in us to become the next China?
Oh, absolutely, we have it in us to become the next China, but it's a long way. People, when they talk about manufacturing or supply chains, they think it's simple just to pack up and leave. It's not. It's a very long process, the fruits of which will be visible only in at least 5 years or maybe 10. So to become the next China, there's some lessons we have to learn from China. I already elaborated on the policy points, right? We have to set up the right kind of business atmosphere. The taxes need to come down. The labor reforms need to be in place. Most importantly, to give you an example how China works. After the 2008 financial crisis, China embarked on an infrastructural spree. Just to give you an example, between 2008 and 2018, China constructed the world's biggest high speed railway network. Now, to think of a high speed railway network, you understand land acquisition, there are coordination between the central and the provincial governments in China. All of that was done perfectly. And today, the length of the high speed railway system in China is more than the entire world combined. In fact, China's high speed railway system alone constitutes for 66% of the world's high speed railway network. So, just to give you an example of how China works, in 10 years they were able to achieve this. If we were to do the same, we have already problems on that front. For instance, our dedicated freight corridor project, it's being pushed forward. Just yesterday, the report of the National Infrastructure Pipeline was released. Against the 2020 target, now they have revised the complete operations of the Eastern and the Western dedicated freight corridor project to 2025. So these are little things that actually kill investor sentiment, because when companies are looking to set up their supply chains, they're not looking at an option where if they do not like it, they can move out again 2 or 4 years later to a different country. They're looking at a long-term innings. So if we cannot offer that sentiment the way China did to all those companies, we wouldn't be able to become a manufacturing hub, irrespective of the low wages, irrespective of the big employment market we have, irrespective of the 1.3 billion people we have.
So, when you're talking about long term, how do you think India can compete across the 2020s? And also, when you say that it's only about diversifying, so there are things that are going to still continue in China. How do you think China will continue to play along, and how can China still remain important? How will China still remain important?
See, to give you an example, again, in January and February this year, when the country, that is China, they witnessed an outbreak of the coronavirus, European Union the member states of the European Union were very worried for one simple reason. Of all the medical imports European Union had, 50% of them came from China. So the European Union member states were worried that because of the outbreak, China might not be able to export as much as they were before the outbreak. Turns out, the exports only dropped by 15%. So even in the midst of a once in a century like virus outbreak, China's exports, critical imports that is, declined only 15% to the European Union. To give you an example. Now in March and April, what happened? The virus epicenter shifted to Europe, the likes of Italy, Germany, Spain, and of course, eventually into the United States. In that position, these Western countries were not in a position to manufacture simple things like a personal protection equipment, masks, testing kits, antibody tests, and things like that. In the same period, China scaled up its production. So much that China today is supplying most of the medical imports, most of the medical supplies across the world. So the scaling up, that is one thing we need to learn from China. And again, companies may blame China for the virus outbreak, but the truth also is that China has been able to get their factories restarted in the quickest manner. They have been the ones whose factories have come online faster than anyone else's. They are the ones who were able to scale up the production at a critical juncture. So to say that companies just should move out of China is a very simple statement. It's a very misinterpreting statement. You can't just say companies will move out of China. They have a lot of incentives still. There's still the 1.3 billion people market in China. They can't just neglect that. So that's how it is going to work.
So if you have to give like 5 pointers for India to turn into the next manufacturing hub for the world, what would they be?
See, very simple. Firstly, get the land acquisition rules in order. The central and the state governments will have to coordinate better. Labor laws. The labor laws are important because employment will be a driving factor here. Tax breaks need to be there. And most importantly, the confidence. Policy and politics will have to be independent of each other. What we saw with the first high-speed railway project in between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, the Maharashtra government, when they took over, this cannot happen. Earlier also, a lot of companies have tried to set up supply chains in India. They have been disappointed. They have often complained that the red taping, the excessive bureaucracy, the excessive loops they have to go through, it's a problem. See, for any company, a market of 1.3 billion people is a great thing. Now imagine if you have two markets like that, China and India. Why wouldn't any Western company want to move there? Plus, we also have to look at a possible trade war if Donald Trump comes back to the Oval Office after 2020. In that case, he will be pushing Western companies, the likes of Amazon, the likes of Apple, very hard to move their supply chains to India. So we need to be ready. And the good thing is the government, both the central government of India and the state governments are already on it. Already Yogi government is offering tailor-made solutions for the likes of FedEx and UPS. For instance, he's offering them space at the the new airport, Jawad, that's being constructed just on the outskirts of Greater Noida. So things like these, they will be very important if we are to become the next manufacturing hub of the world.
Thank you so much, Tushar, for that insightful discussion. We will be back on Swaraj Direct Line with the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you, Harsha.